Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's May the 29th. Only one more day in this week. It's been a short week thanks to the Monday holiday, and maybe that's a good thing because it still feels like a holiday. Another trading range day. We did get a breakout a little bit higher here this afternoon. The last couple of afternoons. I mean, this is what I'm always telling you about, to be real careful with the market because it can lull you to sleep. And then suddenly start moving just when you least expect it. So, um, last few afternoons we've had very little going on. I'm sorry, I had a little interruption there, but yeah, it'll lull you to sleep, and then suddenly you get some movement when everybody's kind of giving up on it, and that's what happens. So don't let the market lull you to sleep. You'll hear me say that a lot, but pretty typical kind of a range day. It was obvious that we were probably going to try to make a new high here. Notice this channel working up. This was the first break. Somebody wrote me an email telling me they were going to go short here, and I'm thinking, ooh, I don't know if I think I'd be going short there. And 2 seconds after that, I read their email, it broke lower, then turned and went up and just trapped them to the short side. And the reason I told them I was looking for a new high is wasn't any magic to it. It's just that we've got this channel working up and we hadn't had a retest yet. So and there's not really a good short setup right there either. Even though it's a looks like a failed second entry long, everything's still above the EMA. This is just real tough resistance right here, and we had to work through it, and it just took a little bit of work to get through there, but that's where prices were headed. So if you got trapped there, you weren't the only one, because I know this gentleman said he was going to take a short there, and most likely he got trapped short and stopped out there. So okay, another interruption there. It's crazy around here, but anyway, we had the channel working up, we had the break, the new high, then we had the channel working down, the break, the new low, the channel working up, the break. Everything worked perfectly today. It was a little slow at times. It looked like we were going to start a big sell-off here, but they reversed it. And as hard as they've had to work really hard, but we've got another new high today. So this is a market that just refuses to sell off. Doesn't mean that it can't sell off at any time, because we are overdue for a correction, but don't listen to that. You'll hear that over and over on the news. The market's time for a correction. We're overdue. This thing can go up forever. So don't, go wherever the prices are going. Follow the rules, follow the price action, and forget what everybody else is saying, because it means absolutely nothing. So let's talk about the trades. First trade I saw, this was a trading range. We had just a real tight trading range. A little bit of an upward channel here based on the closes. This was the first break. You figure we're going to, either shoot to the other side of the range or shoot to a new high, probably both. So I liked going long there. It is a failed second entry short. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry. So it's a nice trap. But even without all that, it's just a bounce off it's a chance to get in short at the low of a range. Uh, Possible break of the channel. And notice that overshoot there, and we got kind of an equal one here. So I like that setup. Runs to a fairly quick scalper's profit. Then we get a little two-legged correction. This is not a real clear two legs, but it's there. And if you went to a smaller chart, you'd see it. But this is a bounce off the EMA. I made this one green because it's so close to the highs here, and it has been a range day. That I thought it was a little bit aggressive, but it does work out. Not a bad trade. You definitely can't take this one, because now you've got your break and a couple legs up, and things are just, it didn't go very far here, past here, and then this one comes up short. There's no real good setup here. You need to wait on a second entry. It never comes. And you really notice this high. You tested it once, you pull back, you test it again. So that's a double test. So you can go short there. You got to figure we're probably coming back down to test the lows again. It's a big bearish bar. There's a little bit of overlap there, and it's not really clear that it didn't have that one little tick higher that you'd like to see for a trap. So I still felt this one was a little aggressive. And then a two-legged correction here. Failed second entry long. It traps everybody. You're definitely working downward, and you figure we're probably going to come back down and test these lows, maybe even the overnight low, which is down here. At that point, I really had this set up right about here, but but if we move lower, then you're looking for that low too. But you're definitely looking for prices to at least come to here, and you got plenty of room. It's the first break of this. You know you're probably going to try to make a new low, which we do, and they tried to bounce it right there, and they just tricked people. And but there's no trigger to go long there, and then it moves on down, and it does. It takes a few ticks lower than the original, but now you got your break. You got a couple of measured legs down to a new low, and you're bouncing out of here. Broke lower below that little double bottom and below this double bottom. And so aggressive trader is probably going to try to jump in there. I don't really like it. I marked it. Um, I wouldn't take that trade. There's too much overlap there. But there are traders that are going to want to take that. And it's a high probability trade, even though it took a while. It worked out. And then you kind of get, and really notice this new low. That's a correction. And then a second correction. So that's like a failed second entry short almost right there. It's a breakout pullback long either way. I like that entry, especially if you found the trend line kind of working up there. You could get it off. I had it a little lower here first. It may still be there, but bounces right there. I liked using the limit order here, and it would have gotten filled a tick or something. I think a tick back into it, and it just goes higher. And then you get this little two-legged correction. And notice it's back up in this upper half of the channel. And this is really the way I saw the two pieces to the channel right there. And they're two equal pieces. This is like a midline. I probably should make this one a little lighter because normally I do that on midline so you can see it. It makes more sense. It's just another two-legged that's very similar to this. It's like a repeat pattern. Just go long right there. Another easy scalp. And then we just kind of got hung up in this. And so you were better off. You might have wanted to go long right here on this first one. You're looking for a second entry long. But when this one failed, you definitely wanted to go long right here. It's close to the highs, but you got to figure we're going to at least make a new high. And these were both fairly easy. This one you had to kind of ride it out. And if you got shook out of this one, the worst should have happened. You might have lost a tick or so, but you got to hang on to these. Even though you're entering right here, this bar is still really your low and your signal bar, so your safety stop should be right there. And it never even came close to threatening that safety stop. And of course, if you got shook out, you still could have got a tick several different times. And then just add back on here, either add on here or get back in right here. And it was a little nerve-wracking. It did kind of turn back down again right there. So you might have even thought about entering there because now you've got a new low, first entry, failed second entry, but you're going long at the very high there. You got no room for error at all, really. But you know what? After looking at that, I'd already finished the chart really before we got that far along. So I'm going to go ahead and add that one. I'm going to make it green, though, just because it's so close to the highs there. And that's really all there was today. And so I'm not going to waste any time and try to talk about much else. I just want to get through this week and maybe things pick up next week. We'll have to just see what happens. It continues to be slow, and I get a lot of emails about it. So if you're struggling, it's understandable because there's really, if you take out the aggressive trades, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 trades all the way up until 10 o'clock, and there's been maybe 2 since then. So maybe 6 trades all day, and that are just, really great setups. So, and even then there's reasons to, wonder about them, like this one right here. You're close to that high, which normally we like to have a little more room. Okay, had another slight interruption. I think we've talked about everything worth mentioning today. Just another typical slow range day, typical of what we've been having. This has almost been like a holiday. Every day this week has almost been like a holiday type price action. You can see, let me just back out. It makes it a little easy. You can see yesterday wasn't much going on. Today looks very similar. Here's the cutoff. So today looks similar. So we made another new high today. Of course, we made another new high yesterday, but we made it during the overnight. We did have a little bit of movement. on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. So just be careful trading this market. Be careful of reversals when you're in the middle. Always remember that if it's a range, and even though this is a bigger range, once it starts going up and down like this, um, you're kind of in the middle of the second part. So it's still like being in the middle of the range. You got to be really, really careful. Doesn't mean that you won't see some good setups there, because you will, but you got to be real careful of them. And you have to understand what's going on. Just like working up here, notice there's no closes outside till here, and you're generally going to get a retest of the high. Sometimes on a range day you may not get a new high, but you're probably going to at least retest the actual high or this swing high. And you can see we made a little lower high here and it turned down. Well, that's what they'll do if they can. If the market can't move higher, what they'll do is they'll turn around and turn it the other way and try to trick people, and they trap people, and then they reverse it, and they use those traps to run it higher. And that's basically what they had to do here. They've tried to get through that point one time today, two times today, three times today, four times today. You really could count that one, 5, 6, 7. And then when they on this seventh try, they couldn't get it through there. So they turn it up and they can't get it any higher. And so then they act like they're going to turn it down. And I guarantee you a lot of people went short right there, and then it bumps higher, and then they run out of steam again, so they turn it down. They probably didn't trap enough people, so they turn it down lower, and they trap people again, thinking they're selling the highs up here, and then now they got enough of them trapped, and then they can run it on up. And so that's what's happening there. That's why you see that. That's why it can be so bearish looking, only to turn around and then be so bullish looking, going the other direction. So just be careful when you try to enter in the middle here. If you're not sure, which going short right here, it looks like a long trap, but when it when it takes it a long time to go lower and they start stacking up, that's not a good sign for the downside. But it's not really a good long either until you get until it breaks lower and then turns up, and then you got this new low, first entry short, second entry. So now you got a trap. And the only reason I don't draw this one green is because it's right there at the highs, and you just don't have any room for error there. So otherwise, I'd like to make it. If I'd still been trading and saw that, I probably would have taken that long right there. Because when they turned it down again, they really trapped people that time. And you can see what it does. It finally lets them push on through there. So, and it's my opinion, and this is just my opinion. This is just conjecture. I don't have anything that says this is what's happening, and I'm not saying I'm an expert enough to know, but what I think is happening based on my knowledge of the market is we're making all-time new highs. So people are nervous about buying all-time highs. So the buying is drying up, but at the same time, there's nobody willing to sell this thing. People just don't want to sell it because look what happens. It keeps going higher and higher and higher. So I'm afraid that we haven't seen the last of this for a while. I got a feeling it's going to be this way for a little bit until we get a good correction, and then maybe the market will kind of get back to normal and start getting a little more movement out of it. But I believe that's what's going on. I just think that there's not a lot of buyers at these levels, not new buyers, I should say. There's not a lot of new buyers at this level, but people are not willing to sell this market. You only get punished if you sell this market, so people are not willing to sell it. And so it just keeps creeping, even though it's having to creep and do it real slowly, it just keeps creeping higher. And this could continue, and we could just continue to chop around. Normally, when you get around these century areas, and you notice we're into the 1900s now, and we just crossed into that the last few days. And generally, they're going to test that level on both sides a few times before it decides what it's going to do. At this point, it looks like we're going to go higher. So we'll just have to see. But just be careful. Draw your trend lines. And actually, right here, after this break, this break happened at, we got to close outside this thing for sure about 10:42. Well, notice that it didn't start really climbing again till 12:45. So that's 2 hours of correction right there before it went higher. So that's enough to really say, hey, we had a break, a retest, and if you called that a retest, it started at 11:15, and the thing didn't really start going higher till 12:45. So that's an hour and a half. That's enough to call that a correction, and then start a whole new trend again. And once we started going higher, I really thought we'd probably make a new high and sell off and get back in this range. But once you keep going, you got to say, hey, we may get a measured move. And look at that, we got a perfect measured move as of right now. So, that's something to always be aware of. When you start to move higher, look for a measured move. And let that be your target on any runners, or if you're trying to swing trade instead of trying to scalp. Because you can do that. You don't have to scalp out of these trades if you want. I like to scalp out, and the reason being is that I don't want to see the thing move 2 or 3 points in my favor only to back up. So I just like to, I'd rather re-enter again, and so I like to scalp out. But it doesn't mean you have to do it that way. You can be a swing trader. You can enter. You can try to get more out of it. But just remember, if you are trying to do that, that the most, even though we get trades that will move for 5 to 20 points, the most we're expecting out of any of them is a 4-tick scalp. So, and there are a lot of these trades, that's all they're going to get before they back up. So keep that in mind. Uh, so if you're going to try to swing trade, you're probably going to need to use a little bit bigger stop, and you're probably going to want to wait on the traps before you enter to make sure that you get the best entry. So like here, and one of these entries, that kind of thing. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.